Thanks, fam, for coming on again to these new episodes that we're doing called I Confess Dads. And today we got a special guest because I have a friend who is going to share some wisdom, drop some wisdom, and I just have that conversation. I feel this guy, I have an ability to have this conversation with this friend of mine, and you will be awestruck with this little conversation. I don't know what awestruck means, but we're gonna have that. So stay tuned, fam, because we're gonna do this episode. Ready? Here we go.
Different points of view and highs and lows. A new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind, drown out the noise, and see if this connected. And see if this connected.
So, welcome back, fam. So, we're on that camera, and right here, we're on that camera.
Hello, everyone.
So, right here, we have Marcus Jones. And Marcus Jones hails from St. Catherine
in Riverside.
And we're invited Marcus to give us some of this, to just enter into conversation, because what better to have conversation about fatherhood than with Marcus. I think it's easier for me to have this conversation with you, Marcus, because the fact that we're pretty much the same age. I think you're a little grayer than I am.
I think I'm much older.
We got that gray, but we're young in heart, and I think we're going to drop some wisdom for those listeners who are younger than us, and there's a lot of them who are younger than us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I gotta make sure I have all these things going. All right, everything's going. But it's important, I believe, to share information from fathers like us who've gone through a life lived.
Oh, yeah.
To people who are young fathers. Like last week, we talked to Diego Gambo, who's like under 30.
Oh,
and so he has a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So he's going through what we went through in the early 20s of having children. So his story is a little bit less than what we have. Not less important, but those are stages. And I think...
But it's just different times, yeah.
Different times, exactly. And the things that we've lived through may not be something that other young people live through. But hopefully, as my mom would say, don't make my mistakes.
And Arnell, it's a journey. It's not just a one-time thing. It's something that's lifelong. Even though if your children you think of them, in diapers, you think of them as, now, growing out of diapers and into Pampers and, going through that life development. It's not just, that one period. It's ongoing throughout their life. My daughter's, she's in her 30s, and it's the same, childhood rearing. Even though she's an adult, she's still rearing and guidance and helping, and now it's just, now we have more conversation opposed to being, I'm taking you from point A to point B. I'm taking you from your bed to your chair for feeding. Now we're talking situation now where, how do I get along with folks in the workplace? Now that I'm managing people, what's the, what type of management style do I use?
And it isn't great that your children, they come to you. They come to dad. They come to dad for advice because, I'm not knocking moms. Because God forbid I knock my wife, my children's mom, because I would hear about it. But there's something about coming to dads because, I watched an episode on, when you get hooked on that TikTok episodes. And there was this minister who was saying that women, they go around in circles in the conversation, where men are just direct. Where your mom will take you all the way around and find out, it's like, all I wanted was chicken. But dads, we listen, and there's something important about how dads try to fix things. This is one of those things where dads are fixers.
Yes.
Dads are fixers.
Yes.
And when we see, especially our daughters, there's a special different relationship between dads and their daughters and their dads and their sons. But with their daughters, we are so overprotective.
Yes.
And it's like, what do you mean something's happened at work? Well, tell me. Oh, yeah. And it's beautiful that you say your daughter now. Your relationship is different because now it's an adult relationship, but you're still dad.
Oh, absolutely. And she still calls dad.
Yeah.
Dad or daddy have a situation. How do I handle it? I'll never forget when she was in college, and she was a good student at school, and it was time for her to make one of her first presentations, her PowerPoint presentation. And she had been practicing and practicing and practicing, and she was prepared. And it was like a half an hour before her presentation, and she's freezing, she's frozen. And she said, "Dad, I can't do this." And she's crying and "I can't do this." And I'm looking at her, and I'm calling because we're on the phone. So I get off the freeway, and I stop, and I say, "Okay, well, let's take a breath, and let's think about this. You've been practicing and preparing, yes. You know the material back and forth, yes. Why are you reading it?" Huh? She says, "What?" I said, "You know slide 1 to slide 5 to slide 10, 15? Well, yeah." I said, "Well, then all you're doing at that point is having a conversation."
Amen.
Let me call you back. So then it was just perspective. Because what dads do is we, like Arnel said, we're fixers. We help you get through that issue and that problem. Moms, and not moms don't get upset with me, but moms, they're the ones, they're like the Blessed Mother. They're the ones that take care of you. They hold you close. They give you that love and that nurturing. Dads, we do that as well. But we're like you said, like I said a little bit earlier. We help you design that that pathway to get through a situation, using the right tools to resolve whatever the issue is, either physically or verbally.
I think that's beautiful what you said, because a husband and a wife, a mom and a dad are complementary. Like, I don't think I'd ever be able to do what my wife does.
No.
And I admit to that.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that's not being humble, that's being truthful.
That's being true, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that, like my wife always says, I can't talk to them like you talk to them. Because her maternal role of just loving on them and holding them, and her mantle of love, like the Blessed Mother, as you said, is different than what I do as a Joseph.
Then your hug, yeah.
It's like my ability to show them how to do things logically is not the same.
Correct.
And so I think, as children of God, as our children, I think that's the biggest difference, and I think that's why we hunger for that.
Well, you know what it is? It's patience. Because the wives, the moms, they handle situations with children one way. Dads handle it in another way. And we have to be complementary of each other. And we do that through, that was a drum roll, dialogue.
Right.
We have to be, as the best way we can, discuss in dialogue as husband and wife, man and woman, mom and dad, to discuss, what is that plan and what does that plan look like? Mm-hmm. What is that plan of development? If it's just something as simple as combing hair, taking to school, doing the homework, brushing the teeth, preparing the clothes, whatever it is, because within that family dynamic, there's the man or the woman, the husband, the wife, the mom or the dad. There's gifts that you have, talents that you have, that will make things smoother and easier for your children, as well as the other partner in that relationship. They have gifts and talents that they do well, and then you identify what those are, and then you run with it. Yeah. Because you may be a better one at getting the clothes together, comb my hair, because I couldn't comb hair, right? But my wife is really good at doing the hair.
I couldn't comb hair.
Yeah, me neither. You see what happened to mine. So
Look at this, and it's not necessarily as what I'm hearing from you. It's not your way, it's not my way, but it's our way.
Yeah.
It's that communication that we do this together,
right.
and we understand that this is the way that we do it,
Right.
so that your children aren't confused.
Danielle
And
Cell.
oh, someone's gonna call because he's a busy dad,
And that's my daughter.
and that's his daughter. He's like, "Which PowerPoint do I use, Dad?"
She was in a meeting for the city of LA.
I love the fact that we still get calls, because even as we get to this age, we will pick up. It's kind of like when we get calls and we get these random calls from either co-parishioners or people in ministry or just random people. We'll put that on and say, you know what?
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that, and let that go to voicemail. But when it's our children, it's like you pick up and say,
Oh, yeah.
"What's wrong? What's up?"
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you will ask, because that doesn't leave.
Mm.
That doesn't leave us.
And it's funny that you say that. And it's not just my dad's passed away, but even as an old man, I would call my dad. And then my dad would say, "Okay, well, let's think." Same thing. All right, let's think about the situation. Let's go through it step by step by step. It's almost like a Columbo or Sherlock Holmes, or that's dating myself. But if we had someone in this generation,
Mm-hmm.
someone like that to think, okay, we need to think step by step by step on how to resolve a situation and not be frustrated by it. We need to have more conversation and dialogue. The phone, the iPad, the computer, our tech has made things easy for us,
Mm-hmm.
and we're losing. I think we're losing that human touch. We're losing that ability to talk to one another.
You're right. You're so right, because I find myself with that, where I need an answer, and I'll just Google it, and there's the answer.
Yeah.
But there's no feedback.
Yeah.
There's no dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think that's also true with our society today.
Yes.
Is that we are so stuck on the screen and get the answers right away. I laugh because my daughters fact check me every single time. I was like, "Are you fact checking me?" And they're like, "No, but we want to make sure you're telling us truth."
Accurate. Yeah.
I was like,
Information.
that's and it's funny when they say, "Well, that's actually true." Like, Dad won't lie to you. Dad won't lie to you. But it's funny because we are in a generation that we have to fact check everyone instead of entering into dialogue and says, "Well, why do you feel that's true? Why do you feel that's true?" We have to immediately get that answer. Is that, no, according to Google, you're wrong.
Well, and I think it's from a safety perspective, because we want to make sure that, especially if we're live, if we're streaming face to face, we want to make sure that, we're accurate.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that we're telling the truth, that we're not leading people astray.
That's very true.
Because there are people out there who are, like back in the day, who are just doing things to manipulate, maneuver, and trying to do harm. But in our life now, and it's 2025, man.
I think that's still
We
true
have
to
be
this
better.
day.
We have. Oh yeah,
It's still true to this day. There
Oh,
are
we have
still
to be
people
better.
out there who what I call, even our Catholic. By the way, if you guys didn't know, Marcus is Catholic.
Cradle.
Cradle Catholic. We go into that a little bit later. But that was one of the things where I call them, I got this from a priest who I asked regarding certain Catholic celebrities who foment disagreements, and he calls them their shills. They're shills because they profit off that arena of stirring people's passions.
Yeah.
And it's not incorrect passion. It's the headbutting and it I want to share with you.
Okay.
There's one person who came up to me and said, you should do this podcast. You get more listeners if you become more
Controversial.
aggressive and controversial. Yeah. I said, well, that's not the format of the podcast.
Right.
I'm not here to make sure that people get angry, but just to have a conversation. If the conversation made you angry, that's different.
Now
But
see,
the
why did you
intent
go
is
that
to
way?
have conversation.
Why did you go that way? Because who are we, ladies? Is this mic on? Who are we, ladies and gentlemen? We are Catholic Christians. We are followers of Christ. We believe in what he taught. He didn't teach hate. He didn't teach anger. He taught love. Oh, but Arnell, you can make a little money on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute.
You get more listeners.
You get more listeners. What am I trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
Am I trying to do his work, do the right thing, and help people so they can be better in their life?
Mm-hmm.
Or,
My response was, well, I want to be just like Jesus. I don't want to hit 12, and hopefully one won't like
fall out.
fall out. It's those 12 who's going to be out
you don't
there.
hang, you don't want to give him enough information to hang himself.
Give him 30 pieces. People listen to this goes, what the heck?
What are they
those
talking
two
about?
That's the nature of the podcast.
30 pieces of silver, ladies and gentlemen.
Having a conversation and try to keep up. Just try to keep up.
See, you should have had me on because,
And this is that
great.
format of the conversation. Though. This is the art of conversation.
Yeah.
Is that going back and forth, and somewhere down the line we're gonna release some nuggets that someone says, well, yeah, that's connected. What that section of the conversation that connected.
But that's what this is all about, because back in the day we didn't have this tech, and we were trying.
Don't age us.
Don't
put us that.
No, but I'm just saying we didn't. There were no. But
we had a tape recorder.
Even hundreds of years ago, we didn't have the ability because we had to talk to one another and try and get the information out. But now we can stream, and we've got all this technology that we can do Zoom and podcast. We can get the information out quickly. But to your point, we want to be fair, balanced. We want to be clear. We want, like your daughter says, we want to be accurate. Mm-hmm. So then you have good, solid, accurate information that's not leading you down the primrose path, leading you astray from what is right, what is good.
Because leading people astray is worse.
Yes.
It's worse than committing that personal sin.
Correct.
It's leading another person.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of parents, straight up, do a lot of work, because mom and dad have got to do their job, and you have the kids that they've got to come home and and let themselves in, and do their homework and housework and do all that. So while they're streaming or online or something, and they're seeing the podcast, they're seeing the stream, we've got to give them accurate, we've got to give them good, wholesome, solid information.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, it's not giving them the best. So then if they're confronted, or if they say something to someone else, then it's right.
There's a responsibility.
There's
a responsibility in entering into a format that reaches people who you may never see, who you may never get to meet, and they take your words as truth. And that is dangerous, and that is something that's sometimes very, very hard to get past if you're entering into this form, because it's really easy.
Uh-huh. It's
really easy to just go on and just say anything.
Oh, no doubt.
But is that what the Lord is calling you to do? And I think that's something we got to always pray on.
Yeah.
Is this what the Lord is asking me to do?
But what's He calling us to do, Arnell? And that's the age-old question. And He's calling us in two ways: an old way and a new way. The old way, I can basically say, was the 10 Commandments.
Mm-hmm.
Follow these 10 things, and you'll be fine. That was the old way. But when Jesus came into the world, He said, those 10 are great, but let's consolidate those 10 into 2. I'm not going to give you the answer. You guys are going to have to look it up. Consolidate them into 2. And see, that's what, as dads and moms, that's what we do. If you think about it, your family is a daily podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are, we don't, we're not on TV and tech, but we're constantly sharing information, updating information, teaching, preaching, just talking to one another, see what's going on. And then what's a podcast? Talking and having dialogue.
That's right.
We were talking earlier when I was being interviewed before we started. We were talking about how do we what's the best way for us, Catholic Christians or just people in general, how do we get information? Is it better for us to get it from the top down? And it's from the supervisor telling us, you got to do this, mom and dad, you got to do this. Or do we have some kind of discussion and dialogue from the bottom up? What do you guys think about dinner? Instead of saying, we're going to have this. What do you think about doing this weekend? Or we're going to do this weekend. Or we say, well, what do you guys have planned? But that's and that's family. And that's who we are.
That's who we are as a church. That's who we are as a people of God, is family. The answer to that is those two things it's we have the 10 Commandments, and one of the young people says, well, what are the commandments that Jesus gave us? Basically, this is it. He wants us to be like him, Love, love.
Yep.
To love.
Yep.
And it is so hard to love people you don't like.
Oh, man.
But God didn't say, love only the people you like. And we were just talking about that earlier, about the people who is so hard to love are the people closest to us.
The Catholic Mafia.
Yeah.
Should I mention a name?
I didn't say that. Marcus Jones. Marcus Jones, follow him. Marcus Jones.
Oh, but
the Catholic Mafia.
Any two do forget.
But yeah, it's the people closest to us. So I love that fact, because at the Mass it says, make peace, peace to the person closest to you. It's like
it's scriptural. How many times do you forgive? Mm-hmm. We're called to do, and that's the hardest thing on the planet. To love the ones you hate. Because one of my priests would always tell me, he said, if you're taking all these classes and you're doing all this studying, all this Bible study and reading and classes you're taking, and if you're following the ways of Christ, ladies and gentlemen, you're doing the things that he's asking you to do, receiving all your sacraments and Mass, and if you're walking in those footsteps, everything that he lived for and everything that he died for, we are part of that. So, all of the good things would be great, and then, when we run into those pitfalls, that's the challenge. And that same thing in the family setting. Mom and dad aren't always happy with our level of homework. Our grades aren't the best. Maybe I have too many activities. Maybe I don't have enough activities. But we have to learn how to work with each other. And if things don't go right, you know what? We forgive it. Because all of those situations in life, they're all a learning experience. Mm-hmm. Even if they're failure, because you've learned not to make that same mistake, perform that that process the same way, but do it in a way where there's a positive outcome.
Love hearing that from you, Marcus. We talked about making peace with the people closest to you, and we're not talking about the Catholic Mafia. But let me ask you, with your children, were you a hard dad, or were you one of those dads who's like, oh, it's okay, baby, it'll be fine?
I have to make sure my phone is off. Oh yeah, no.
She's gonna hear this.
I was old school. Yeah, I was old school.
You're tough.
Yeah, I was.
You're tough on it.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. Now,
It was a tough love. It was a tough loving dad, because I was very conservative. This is the way it has to be. And my wife was like, pretty much the same way. And but we did it in a loving manner. But there were rules.
Not permissive. That's what word I was looking for. You weren't a permissive father.
No.
Yeah. And was that because of how you were raised, Or is
That's
that
a good question.
environmental? Or is that from your parents?
That's a good question. That's a good question. It's a combination. It's how I was raised because my parents were very conservative, conservative Catholics from Louisiana, and I was the only son of 4 children. I had 3 sisters, and I was the oldest. So my dad was like, you're the oldest, you're the son, you've got to set the example for the others, and not just for for your core family, but for your extended family as well, all your cousins and all that, because
they'll look up to you.
They're white, exactly. So and I was the good son, but yeah, oh yeah, you have
It was
to.
good you weren't the prodigal son.
You got to look that one up too. Oh, this is gonna be good. Or we can do more of this.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah, this is.
I was also the
Ladies
good
and
son,
gentlemen,
and my brother was the prodigal son. So I was the one offended when my mom killed that fatted pig, not a calf, because we couldn't afford a calf, for him when he came back. I was like, what? I was always the one who was good. But anyways, so you were that father that was just,
Oh yeah, I was the guy. Oh yeah, I was the guy. I was very strict.
Yeah.
Parties, going to the mall. Oh, Dad, we're gonna go to. Can I mention the mall? Or just say just the mall.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to the Galleria, Italian Galleria. We're gonna walk around and buy a couple of things. Me and the girls. We're gonna go to the movie. I said, okay, that's great. I said, let me have the names of the girls that you're going and the parents' telephone numbers. Why do you need that? I'd like to talk to all the dads because I'd like to know where you were going. Oh, Dad, you're just so. And I said, no. I just want to make sure that the people that you're going with, that you will be safe. My daughter's in college. She's in the middle of this parade in Hollywood. There's police everywhere. People are running. They're hiding behind like a bench or something. She's calling me, Dad. I said, what are you doing down there? We're at this parade and we're trying to get out. I said, okay. You have to, be careful, and here's the streets you take, and this is the safe route. Why didn't you let me know in advance? Well, I thought, we'd be able to take care of it. We were older.
No, it's because you would have said no.
Yeah. But you can go, and she would go to parties later as in high school, even college, and go, we're going up to Santa Barbara. I said, you can go do whatever you want. I said, but just let me know. Call me when you get there, so I can make sure you got there safely, and then call me when you get ready to leave. So I know, a time frame where you come home or back to to your apartment or your dorm or wherever. It's not that I'm checking up, ladies and gentlemen, but it's just you want your kids to be safe.
Exactly.
Arnell, there's so much out there.
Yeah.
There's so and there's so many manipulators that are out there just looking for young people, young ladies and young men. To manipulate them to go the wrong direction.
I think that's my biggest fear. My biggest fear as a father, something I didn't have when I wasn't a father. I was like, I'm free. It's like, who's gonna harm me? And if I can protect myself.
Right.
But when you have a child, then things go a different path.
Oh yeah, it's a different story.
Now you're not worrying about yourself. You're worrying about some other person who God gave you.
Yeah.
God gave you, and it's like, being overprotective, but not suffocating. And I always tell my daughters, you can go. I need to know, because it's not only about you, it's about us as a family, and that's built on trust.
Exactly.
And so, if you need to be picked up, because God forbid you got drunk,
anything,
or any of your friends,
the car broke down.
A friend, who was driving, I was like, oh, she can't drive and I can't drive her car. So I'll come pick you up.
Exactly.
I'll come pick you up.
Exactly.
I'll be disappointed, but you'll be safe.
And now it's Uber. So you just call Uber. You can go use your phone, call Uber to come get you. But it's just a matter of just being safe. It's not, not so much checking up, but just being safe.
I think those are the biggest fears as dads with children. And I worry about the kids who aren't my children, kids in youth ministry, and you see them, and I think that's the difference between a person in ministry who's older, who has children, that you look at every single young person in ministry as your child. It's like youth ministers who are younger. No offense to younger youth ministers, but you treat them, they're like your brothers and sisters. Like they're my brothers and sister in Christ. But older youth ministers, no, you're my child. You're a child of God, and that's how I look at them. Because you worry. It's like, well, you be safe. You make sure you be safe. When you need to call someone, you call someone.
Arnell, you're not in this alone. In this family unit, in this crazy faith, you're not by yourself. Jesus didn't walk by himself. He always walked with the 12. Mm-hmm. And the 12 became 500 to 6,000 to a world.
It's a couple of billion today.
Right.
A little separated, just like family.
Absolutely.
But that's how great family is.
But that's how family is. You know, we have some bumps in the road, which I do, that I'm trying to work through.
Like people who think you're
the
serving
schism, man.
Oh my goodness, it's still there.
Still there.
Still there. Or separation.
Yeah.
Separation between our Protestant brothers and sisters. Still there.
Ooh, that's gonna.
It's still the battle.
That's a bleed. Yeah.
It's a battle within family.
Yeah.
Within family. It's so much like a regular family.
But once again, it's trying to have that dialogue. Yeah, if you can, it's hard. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said earlier, I'm not gonna lie. It's you have that family break, or you have that relationship break, and it's like we're not gonna talk. But you know what? How many times do you forgive? 7 times, 77. 7 times. That's to me just an infant. And then, can I say this on your podcast? Because I was always wondering, why is it always me? Why is it always me? Why am I always the one that have to forgive?
Exactly. Isn't that? It's kind of like I put that again when my mom used to tell my brother, because I was the youngest.
Uh-huh.
And I used to take everything. I was a rotten youngest brother. And I remember listening in on my mom telling my brother used to complain, why does he always get away with everything? Why do I always have to say, to forgive him? And my mom says, because you're older.
Right.
And I'm listening to that, and my brother says, it's not fair. And my mom says, well, that's your brother. And you know what? Being the evil child I used to be, I was like, oh, now it's on. Mom gave me permission to just be bad. Until she spoke to me. And she said, he can hurt you. But he chooses not to because he loves you. And so, be nice. And I was like, well, I didn't think about it that way. But I just didn't want to get hurt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that prodigal son reference, I use that a lot in my ministry and discussions and stuff. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's true in all of our lives. Because, life goes off the rails. Mm-hmm. And, one of you is, the husband is trying to stay, and the wife is, going off, the husband's going off, and the wife is going off the rails, and we're trying to stay on the same path together. And we have to figure out, how do we continue to do it? How do we continue to walk down the same road together? And it's just by my talk and dialogue, because in that prodigal son reference, it's the prodigal son, he went up and he ate and he drank, he partied, and I told his dad, give me my inheritance, I'm going to do all this, and he did everything. And then after the parties were all over and he spent all this money and he's living with the pigs, and he's like, you know what? The pigs are eating better than my servants, my dad's servants. And so what do you do? Same thing in our relationship. Everything is going great, but it's just we're not talking like we used to talk. Why is that?
Yeah, why is that? Why is it that we're not talking the way we used to? Is it because of is it COVID, because it drew us apart? Is it this new way of communicating, which is all text and all email? Because, I went to the library one day and there was no one there. So why do we even have this building? Yeah, I went to the mall and there was no one there because everyone's shopping at Amazon.
Oh, wow.
It's like, these stores.
Brick and mortar.
Brick and mortar stores are no longer there. I think the only place really that still people really go to are the supermarkets. And, to really get to know people, go to Costco and go try to buy eggs. Because there aren't any.
I did that on Wednesday. It's funny that he says that. People, and I'm like, what's going on? People had like, and I don't know if there's like 18
I didn't
or
get
24.
any. I didn't get any.
They had them like stacked like 2 or 3, and I said, are they giving them away? I told that to my wife. I said, honey, what are these? What's going on over there? And she said, people are buying eggs because the prices are going up.
I used to eat 2 eggs in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm eating 1 every other day.
Yeah. My 95-year-old Aunt Mary in Arizona, Aunt Mary says, Shaq, she said, everything that I have to use to cook with eggs, she said, I don't even eat it anymore.
It's too expensive. It's too expensive, like 4 times the price. But people, I say to people, when I witness that and people arguing with each other because someone took more eggs than that person felt they should, I was like, people, they're just eggs.
Yeah. Oh well, remember COVID, and we were fighting over
toilet paper.
paper.
Oh my goodness, I remember that, fighting over toilet paper, and I'm thinking, all my Filipino brothers and sisters are wondering, it's like, why are they fighting over toilet paper? Don't they just wash their butt?
Yeah.
Because we,
and take that a step
we
further.
bidet.
Yeah, take it a step further. We've experienced the fires in the Palisades, and also in Arcadia, Altadena. And my daughter calls me and she says, Dad, we're collecting clothes. And I said, oh, great. She said, empty your closets. And I said, all right. She said, because I have some employees that, they were staying in the shelter, and they went home, or no, they had nothing. They went home and nothing was there.
Mm-hmm.
They came to she said, Dad, they came to work with the same clothes. And I said, oh, dang. I said, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
It's
So you gotta help one another. We have to help one another.
It's one of those where it becomes difficult. Sometimes I see it as, why does tragedy happen? Does God permit tragedies to happen? And
That's a good question.
does.
That's a good question.
And it's not out of malice.
Oh no.
But I always have to look at that and say, Lord, what are you trying to teach me?
Oh, absolutely.
By this tragedy, by allowing the devil to have this opportunity, like
don't
Job,
say his name.
like in
Just
Job,
the evil one. The evil one.
it gives us an opportunity to be like God,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
to be Christ-like, to love.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no
Because
doubt.
I saw so much love that emanating from young adult ministries who are starting collecting all these things for the people who were affected by the Altadena fires.
Oh yeah.
But the challenge here is, are you only in love when love is needed, when tragedies happen? Are you in love all the time? For example, Valentine's Day is coming right now, and everyone's like, oh, it's Valentine's Day, I need to get flowers for my wife, I need to get a present, I need to do this. Do you only do it for that one day? Or do you do it all the time? Because Jesus says to do that all times. At all times. Not on specific days.
Now see, here you go again.
But on all times.
Here you go again. This whole crazy Catholic Christian thing.
Are we talking about the mafia again?
The mob. It's not a suit of clothes that you wear that makes you a Catholic Christian. It's not the cafeteria that you pick and choose. It's not when you go to Walmart and make a transaction between, I'm buying this and you're going to give me this. It's not that. God, if you give me this, then I'm going to do this. We do it because it's the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be part of our life and should be part of who we are. Not just because it's the day, but it's because it's something that we do which is part of who we are.
You know what, Marcus?
I'm sorry, I have to get off the soapbox. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's a good soapbox.
Yeah.
It's a good soapbox, and sometimes we are always given the opportunity by God to be able to stand up on a soapbox, because it needs to be preached. It needs to be preached. There's so much division that we see in the world, and a lot of times we foment that division ourselves because we like to take sides. We as a fallen people, we like to take sides, and it's hard not to take sides because of our personal convictions, the way that we are raised, the environment that we grew up in. It's easy to take sides. But God challenges us again to say what? Love thy enemy. Understand one another. Love the other. And that is hard. I'm not gonna lie. That's hard.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
I'm not one of those people who's there was a parishioner who said to me, who used to always cringe because she would come up and says, "Oh, how's Saint Arnell?" I'm like, "Oh, I hate that. I totally."
Why? What's the purpose?
And I'm like, why would you do that?
Right.
It's like, that is my hope. That is my hope. But are you saying that because you feel that you're
trying to pierce me?
Yeah. Is it that way? But then again, a priest said to me, because I share that in confession, how much that annoys me. And she said, and he said, is it being said out of malice, or are they seeing something in you that you are not seeing? So this is what this priest said, because he said, because Arnell, false humility is also a sin. And he said, maybe the next time, instead of cringing, you should just say thank you. I'm trying really hard. And you know what? I tried that, and she was like, thank you for accepting that, because that was a compliment.
Interesting.
And I was like,
because that's our first reaction.
but it's our first reaction.
Because we're being attacked.
Not me.
Yeah, we're being attacked.
Not
because
me.
we're doing what we're called to do.
Yes.
And for someone to, because like they're attacking us to make fun of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why are they doing this?
And there are many people who do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There are many people
who try to tear you down.
Who try to tear you down. Someone just sent to me something about, I'm Filipino. And there's something in our Filipino culture which is like the crab mentality. We like to tear each other down.
Yeah.
I don't know if other cultures are like that.
Oh
but
yeah,
when we
crawfish in a bucket. Crawfish in a bucket.
And it's like you see another Filipino who's getting up there, and we just, instead of saying, "Oh, good for you," we're like, they probably did something this and that, and that's how they got there. It's in our fallen nature.
Why? That's human.
Yeah.
Right? That's this.
It's that concupiscence.
It's all Adam's fault.
Pass the buck. Just pass the buck.
It's all Adam's fault.
It's all Adam's fault. It's my fault.
Right.
I take that on. That I'm guilty of that.
Well, yeah, because we feel that that here we are, we're trying to do our best, and we're doing everything to prepare ourselves to help people, and why are you going to try and make fun of me? Mm-hmm. And that's what we think. But then like you said, that that whole thing of false humility. And that's real too, because it's like, no, that's not me, and I'm just trying to do the best I can. But then they're thinking, oh yeah, look at them, and look how he's acting. Yeah, I'm guilty of it, because are we here to take accolades? No, we're here just to do his work. That's all.
Just to do his work.
Because why? Because it's the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the right.
I do, however, tell some young people, and it says, when I tell you that you did good,
definitely
accept it.
Definitely.
Because you did good. You deserve.
Definitely.
You deserve that.
Definitely.
And that's coming from my heart.
Definitely.
It's kind of like in my Filipino culture, it's kind of like being invited to a meal, and you say, oh no, I already ate. For anyone who's out there who knows a Filipino, that is a flat out slap in the face. Oh, and we will talk about you. 'Cause, we will listen and we will judge.
Judgy.
So, they're too good.
Oh yeah. Man.
They're too good for our
food.
Man. Oh yeah, that's in my culture.
Oh yeah, that's so everybody. That's everybody.
Just eat something.
Yeah.
And say,
man, this is the best I've had.
Yeah, it's like,
this lumpia is the best.
Can I take some home? And then you can throw it in the trash. This is just too fun.
Oh,
but you know what? This month is February.
Yes.
This month is February, and I think it's plainly obvious to our viewers out there. You're a black man.
In America.
In America. And for you guys who are listening on the podcast and not watching this on YouTube, Marcus Jones, he's a black man.
Absolutely.
And for some of you who are like Sean's, like, what?
Yeah, grew up in Inglewood.
Yeah, but he's Catholic.
Oh yeah, and Cradle Catholic.
And Cradle Catholic from Louisiana.
Oh yeah, family, black family from Louisiana. I'll tell you guys a story. When my parents, when they came to L.A., we lived with my aunt, my uncle, and then when my dad had made enough money, we moved to an apartment, and so we were going to our first, my first memory of going to Mass, and it was a great parish. All cultures were there. You can sit wherever you want, and it was fantastic. That was L.A.
Mm-hmm.
Made a little money, moved to Inglewood in the 60s, though. Moved to Inglewood in the 60s. Yeah, I'm old. And so my parents, no big thing. We sit in the front row of the church. And at the time, it wasn't a well-mixed church. And the usher came to my dad and asked my dad, so we had to move. And my dad says, move where? To the back of the church.
Inglewood, California. Hello, family.
1966, 68, after the riots. Now, I'm old.
Mm.
And Arnell, my mom said, my dad was getting up, and my mom, no, we're not moving. The priest did not start Mass
Until you moved.
We just sat there. 8:15 rolls around. One of the ushers from the back, the black usher, because the black people were sitting in the back in the second of the second half of the church. He comes up and says, come on, you guys, you're gonna have to make moves so we can at least get Mass started going. Just do it for the community, So we moved. That was the first Sunday. We came back again. Same thing happened the second Sunday also. And the ushers just got together and said, you guys have gotta move. And so that's one thing that has really stood out in my mind of how we were treated in this church.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents just made it a point to make sure that we stayed Cradle Catholic elementary school, Catholic high school.
Now, having that experience, and I can go on my history and my people's history of how the church, the people in the church have treated other people, but that still to this day lingers, that hurt in you.
Oh, no doubt.
No, and then that hurt. Has that affected the way that you do ministry?
Oh, absolutely. What it's done is it's become my cross, and that's my cross that I bear, and I don't carry it outwardly, but I carry it inwardly. So as much as I can do to stay as close to Christ, do as much for His people. Anyone that needs to build that relationship, be closer to Him, that's what I do. That's who I help.
Yeah. I remember, people judge you by the way that you look and the way you present yourself. And I remember a person came up to me and said, those people are asking for too much. And I'm like, what people? And they were talking about the Hispanic community.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, what are they asking for? And immediately when confronted with a question, the person then backs off, and you see the wheels turning. It's like, oh, he's not like us.
Arnell, I'm talking to people on the phone. I'm talking to people on the phone.
Yeah.
They're calling, asking, well, we need to help, and we need to make some donations to your ministry. Oh, absolutely, no problem. I can meet you at church. So I can meet you in the business office. And so people are coming. We're looking for Marcus, and so they're asking. And it can't be this black person.
And then you come out.
I'm sitting there.
Wait. Can I say this? But
you don't sound you don't sound black.
But you're black.
You just sound black.
That is past some people who don't know that.
Yeah.
That from Mel Gibson's movie.
Yeah, you don't sound black on the phone. It was like Marcus Jones.
I was actually one of the youth once told me, it's like, you sound white.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh.
I'm like, what does white sound like?
Oh yeah, when I left home, because I went to culturally mixed high school, and but like I said, Inglewood, right? So
Mm-hmm.
and
Back in the day.
Back in the day, and so I went to college, and college was all white.
Mm-hmm.
And that first Christmas I came back home, everybody in the neighborhood, all my boys who I used to hang out with, why are you talking that way? Why am I speaking what way?
Don't get me started on that.
Oh yeah. It's this thing. So I was using the King's English. I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we have to learn to do to survive. And then we can take this a step further when you get into your business and corporate life. Moms and dads are teaching your kids to be able to code switch. That is, when you're with your friends and homies and whomever, we can speak in the language we understand. But when it's time to speak in that culturally diverse, or go into that to the culturally sensitive
Mm-hmm.
environment, and we have to be able to use the King's English to be able to speak properly, so people will understand us. It may be different now, because things are changing a little bit
I
now.
think it's changing right now.
But the hair
that
and
was in our generation. The generation where code switching was something that
You had to do to
that you had to
survive.
do. It was something that we did, and it was actually something that even my mom taught us. I remember when my mother was raising us, and she said, I can't teach you not to speak with an accent, so you need to watch these television shows. And she chose the television shows that we watched. And she said, watch these, and I want you to speak English like them.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't trying to get rid of my culture,
Mm-mm.
but she was trying to be protective. In order to succeed in this world,
Absolutely.
you need to speak well
Yes, absolutely.
and better than that person. And that is
Absolutely.
truth, folks.
Absolutely.
That is truth. In the 70s, in the 80s, in the 60s, that was true for many people of color. That I think, I always ask my kids, and I think they wonder why I keep asking them, like, have you ever been called a derogatory term?
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like, what? It's like, yeah, have you been ever called
yeah.
a nip, a chink, a
Oh, yeah.
gook,
Oh, yeah.
a goo-goo head, and they're like, no. I was like, thank God. Because you know what? That means we did something, because that was a daily cross that you bore of every day being called that word.
You want to hear a story?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I didn't talk about my high school where I grew up or anything. I just said I grew up in Inglewood. Okay. So this high school that I attended, I played on the football team, and we had a racially diverse football team freshman year. Well, throughout high school, and we had gone to an all-white school to play in the freshman game, and this. I can't say where, but it's in the LA area. I can say that. And so as the bus is entering the school gates, the white students, and this was like something from television. Arnell, they're hitting the bus. They're throwing bottles. They're throwing like milkshakes at the bus. They're yelling. They're calling us the N-word. And this was the 70s. And it's like, wait a minute. This is L.A.
Yeah.
This is
People
not
think this
Lower
only
Alabama.
happened in Alabama and Georgia and the South. No. This is Mississippi. This happened right here.
And some of the guys when they would get tackled on the opposite team's sidelines, they would get their hands would get stomped on, or some of the kids would on the other team would kick them. And it didn't affect just the black players on the team, but it affected the white players on the team also. But I guess turnabout's fair play, because we had to go to one of the predominantly black schools.
And you got the same treatment?
Got the same treatment. And all the white guys were scared. But it helped us coalesce and helped us understand. And as we grew and developed as a group, not only on the team, but also as students in the high school, that we grew up together. And to get that even a step further, we would have team dinners. And my sisters did, but I was never allowed to eat at anyone else's home, eat a meal, because even if we knew them, you eat at home. And so we would go, and that was the first time I had, like Asian food, Mexican food, because everything else was, soul food from Louisiana, or McDonald's. My dad picked something up. That was a treat. But to eat at someone else's house, at some of the other team, and to eat the different food, it was like, this is fantastic. But that was, once again, that was bringing us together. I won't say like the Last Supper, but bring us together to have an understanding of a meal that we share, or maybe the Seder meal, as we share a meal together, as a group of people, as a family. And that's one thing we can continue to do, is do things together as a family. The best we can, because there's so many activities. I have in my ministry. There's so many families that have all of these sports teams that they, they're school during the week and they have all these sports activities on the weekend. It's like, well, and you probably have it too with youth ministry. It's like, well, when do you have time to to go to these classes or these gatherings so you can receive your sacraments?
Mm-hmm.
And so, what price is glory is what's most important, and it's kind of that combination of you want to get all of your your schoolwork done, and you want to be popular on the the academic team or the sports team, but you've got Christ has got to be somewhere in that family decision making process. I never forget when I was doing some of my theological training, when I was in my first year. And I was having a tough time with homework and balance with school and family and work. And one deacon, he pulled me to the side and says, Marcus, the thing you do is you put, whatever you do, you put Christ in the center. If it's your job number one, your ministry work, your family, your extended family, your parents, have Christ in the center. Praying, asking him, ask for guidance, surrender. I didn't learn that until later. Surrender, but put him in the center, and then that will be your guide. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not gonna lie. I wish I would have listened. I wish I would have had someone who would have told me this, like when I was a younger man. So all of you younger husbands, younger wives, children, teens, open your heart to Christ, and ask him to help you. Ask his Blessed Mother to help you, because, like I said, I was an old man when so I feel like I'm on the catch up. So so I'm doing all these good things to try and help everybody and teach classes, but do it now, because, like I said, when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, my 30s, when I had the young family, we were trying to get the family together. We go to Mass, and we always went to Mass. Mm-hmm. But were we participating in ministry? Were we, feeding the hungry or clothing the naked? Were we visiting the prisoner? No, because we were so busy doing, the family thing. But if we can incorporate, a little time, just a little something.
Wait, are you asking people to actually live out the thing? I think you may be asking too much. To actually live out.
Just do it. And it's just to do a little something. Bishop Barnes told me once, he said, look, if you're too busy with what you're doing with your job number one and family, I can't use you. But as soon as some of those responsibilities are lessened, come on back. Mm-hmm. Because your family is your first ministry. So ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, take care of that ministry. Take care of that family. I talked about those gifts that you're, that the woman, the female, the wife has those gifts. She have it's just like the spiritual gifts retreat. Mm-hmm. You have those spiritual gifts. You have those gifts that are given to you by God, and those are internal. Those are innate that you have. There's talents that we learn, but you have this, and you use these to the best of your ability. And so you do that, and then people will notice the difference. So to your point, when the lady made the comment about, look at St. Arnell, and we took it the wrong way, but she saw something in you.
Right.
And in my example, in my customers, when I started my ministry work and I started to, my conversion process started, it was like, Marcus, you're a little different. I wasn't as aggressive. I wasn't as pushy. But I was more insightful and more conversational. And people were more open to that. Mm-hmm. Because now they're listening.
Because they're seeing Christ in you, because you're seeing Christ in them.
Boom. There you go, bro.
That's what it means, putting Christ center.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
That's
Actually
what it
living
means.
it out. Come on now.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, and you didn't lie. It's not easy. Like that song, no one said it was easy, but it's not easy. It's not easy. But just a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time.
Just that. That's just that little bit.
No, it's just that because he's waiting. One of my favorite female groups was Trinity 357, and they said all you got to do is just beep him on his prayer phone. He's waiting. One of the people in my ministry would say, Marcus, if God in Christ, if he always has his hand out and I keep pushing it away, how many times is he going to have his hand out to help me? It's always there. Mm-hmm. He's always listening.
I love that visual that you said with that parishioner. It says, if I always have my hand out, if God always has his hand out.
Yeah.
Because in that, I recently had the blessing to be able to go to the Sistine Chapel and look up in the ceiling and look at that painting where the hand is out, and we're actually looking out. And it's like, oh, there's the other hand that reaches out, and it's Adam's hand. So it's not Adam who's reaching out for God. It's God reaching out to Adam. And Adam's like, all right, I got you, Lord. I got you, God.
And who is Adam? Who is Adam? Adam was number one. Adam had it all.
Yeah.
He didn't. He had everything, ladies and gentlemen. Everything. And he pushed God away. But is he an angry God? Was he a mean God? No. Because what he did was he provided for Adam and provided for Eve before they left the garden. Because what did he do? He gave them clothes to wear before they went out. To what you said earlier, why does these things happen in the world? Does God allow these wars and crimes and natural disasters? Is he allowing it? Is it the evil one? Is it Job? You got to look that one up. Why is that? Well, because once again, I think you said it earlier, or maybe I said it earlier, but it's the challenge for us on where we are as a person, as a people of faith, to see how we will respond. Every situation is a learning experience. Even though if you fail, it's learning so you won't make that mistake again. Mm-hmm. It's like that old joke about the tornado was coming or the hurricane was coming, and God sent you 3 messengers, and when you die, you went to St. Peter. What happened?
I was waiting for the Lord.
Right, I was waiting for the Lord. Bloody Lord, bloody Lord.
He sent his messengers.
I sent the messengers.
He sent his messenger, but I was waiting for the Lord himself.
Right.
And that whole joke, just I laugh at that because that means that we're not seeing Jesus in the other. He sends. I always like to tell people, does God answer your prayers? And do you see God? Do you see God? Do you see the Lord? And I'm like, well, I haven't had that encounter. I'm like, really? I'm like, and then you don't see Jesus in some of the friends that you have,
ladies
and your parents.
Listen to Arnell, y'all.
Pastor. And it's like,
Arnell's telling you, ladies and gentlemen.
It's kind of like what I always like to tell young people, my hope is that one day, and what your hope should be is that one day someone's going to come up to you and says, you remind me of someone. I know by the way that you live, by the way that you speak,
Absolutely.
by the way that you give, you remind me of someone. And your response should be, Jesus? And if they say yes, then you've done your job. If they say no, then you got some more work to do. Because that is our goal. The whole wristband that used to be so popular, WWJD, what would Jesus do? I used to wear one of those wristbands, and I got fat, and the wristband didn't fit anymore. But that's still valid to this day. What would Jesus do?
Oh, there's no doubt. My daily experience, I surrendered. There was a time when I felt I was driving the bus, and I had to get everything done. And it was always fail. because Jesus was in the back seat and I'm driving,
Mm-hmm.
and he's back there laughing.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Right now, R&L for the last 10, 15 years, maybe longer, Jesus, you got it. I surrender. You take the wheel. And ever since I did that, everything has been smooth because he is guiding me. Like that old song, Lead Me, Guide Me. He is guiding me. He is leading towards the right decision for everything that I do in life.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
As a father.
Oh, and the thing that, if you could go back, the things that I know now, I would have probably been the same kind of dad. I would have been strict, but I would have, and I explained, but I probably would have been more like Joseph. I would have been more
Silent.
like my dad. Yeah, like my dad, a little more silent, because my dad was like the silent, heavy, and I was like, hair on fire. We can't do this because this is crazy.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listen to the way, it's like, at times when as a father, we look at that and we reflect back on how was I as a father. And many a times we tend to go back to our mistakes. Yeah. Oh, I could have done this better. Did I ruin my child?
If I could have, would have, should have.
Yeah. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. If I could go back, I would change this. And I had to come to terms with that. Because if I did that, then my kids wouldn't be the way that they are today.
Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen.
They learn from my mistakes.
All the young people that are out there watching, don't be hard on your parents. Your parents are trying to do the best they can
Amen.
for you. Because when my mom and my dad passed away, my sisters, and this has been, my dad died in 17, my mom died in 23. And my sisters and I were sitting around and we're looking at each other, or even we talk on the phone. This will come up and say, golly, I wish Dad was here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would call him and he would say, do this. But now you hear those words like a tape recording. You hear them in your mind. And then we share the stories with one another, and it's like, Daddy would say, my sister would, Daddy would say that, or I say, Dad would say that, or he would guide you this way, or if something goes wrong, you would have to come to him and so sit down so he could, so he would talk to you about it, and so then you'll understand that this is the way, and this is why, and this is how we go forward to make things better.
Mm. Yeah.
When I went to college, when I came back, oh man, I had a beard, because when I left I was clean shaven, right? So I thought I knew everything in the world. Clean shaved guy, had a beard. I was wearing overalls. Wasn't the same guy that left home. Mm-hmm. My parents looked and said, "What is this?" College student. No. You're making the example for the rest. You need to clean it up. Because the other ones are looking to you as an example. Why are they looking to me? Somebody else.
You're trying to be independent.
Exactly. But ladies and gentlemen, young people that are out there, you are the examples for your little brothers and sisters who are to follow you. I have some people in my ministry who give testimony that, and you talked about, are you really seeing Jesus? And they're experiencing on their journey. They're experiencing Christ and angels. And so one of the ladies in my ministry, she said, Marcus, I'm feeling sad because I've been on this journey and I don't see him. I don't feel him. Am I a bad person? Am I not reading enough? Am I not praying enough? And I looked at her and I said, homegirl, what are you talking about? I said, are you wake up in the morning? She said, yeah. You see your mom in the morning, your sisters. When you go to work, you see your coworkers. You see the flowers that you planted. Oh yeah. You look in the mirror. You see yourself. You're not in a wheelchair. You're the same person. Yeah. Who is that?
Yeah.
The face of Christ, ladies and gentlemen. Because he's working with you and through you. For your schoolwork, your homework, if you're in whatever clubs you're participating in, if you're in faith formation, it's all Him. And just be open, surrender, say, Lord, you got this one, just work through it. And allow Him to do His thing. Don't wait till you're, in your 40s and 50s. Do it now. Be a good student now. Be a good brother and sister now. Be a good son or daughter now. It's easy for me to say, but.
And I was just about to say that, because people out there listening and say you make it sound so easy.
Oh,
is
no,
it?
It's not, no, it's not.
I mean, is it really that easy?
No,
Because I'm gonna tell you now, it ain't that easy.
No. But what I'm saying is, don't wait until you have the year of reasoning. I was like, oh yeah, now I understand what it all. Listen to us now. I wish I had people who were telling me this when I was in my 20s and 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would ask, because and they would make fun of me because I would, I just got married, my first child, got the first house. So I'm asking my dad and my uncles, what about this? What about that? Oh, they're laughing. They said, oh, he's looking for a book on how to be a good father. He's looking for a book to how to be a good husband. Son, that's all T&E, trial and error, and try and do the best you can.
I think what's missing in many young marriages and young people is that they stop doing what you were doing, which is asking people, hey, what worked for you and what worked, what didn't work. And yes, it is trial and error. But part of that trial and error is actually asking people who've been there and done that. As my mom used to say, the people who are coming back and you're meeting them along the path are people who've already walked that path.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
when those older people who are limping along and tell you, hey, be careful, there's a hole on the road, don't fall in it, listen to them.
Yeah.
Because they fell in the hole, that's why they're limping.
Yes.
That's wisdom.
Yes.
That's the wisdom of those older people.
Yes.
And I love the generations, I love cultures who don't throw away their elders. In our American culture, we don't take good care of our seniors. We don't listen to them. We don't provide them ministries to share their wisdom to the younger generation. And I think that's to a detriment of our young people because now it's all about them.
Yeah.
They know more.
They know more. Yeah.
Whereas the older generation who may not have that master's degree, who may not have that PhD, but they have the PhD of life.
Of life.
And that wisdom that is begotten from a life
There's
lived.
No doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
And when they're walking back, make sure you ask your grandparents, your older uncles, hey, how did you go through this? And how did you survive?
Yeah.
I love listening to the stories of older people.
Absolutely.
Because those stories are not one of from the books, but the book that they wrote of their life.
So,
That's in here. It's in here, and they're willing to share it.
You hear a funny story?
Yeah.
All right. So I was watching Max, and I was watching the Blue Beetle. And the Blue Beetle is this one young guy who he receives this entity who becomes part of his body, and he becomes like a superhero. And things are happening in his life, and he's just really down in the dumps about it. He's just in really bad shape, and this isn't working for him. And he's talking to his uncle, and his uncle is telling him, he said, you think you have it bad? Think about how your dad had it. Your dad had to come across the border and then get a job, and then he brought your mom. Then he brought me. Then he brought Nana. And then he's working 2 jobs. And your mom is working 2 jobs. I'm working a job. Nana is at home. And then you're having children. And then you and your sisters. Then you guys are going to school. And then they have to somehow try to work with you to to do your homework and to eat and keep you on the straight and narrow while he's working 2 and 3 jobs. And how's he supposed to do it all? How's he supposed to hold it all together? That's the stories that we have to listen to. Those are the ones we have to remember. Because what happened to that previous generation that made them so strong?
Yeah. That's your story. But that's a story that needs to be shared. And a lot of young people out there, you need to ask your parents their story. Because that is your roots. That's your roots.
And I just thought about something, and then because someone's out there saying, well, he's lucky because he had both of his parents. He's lucky he had parents. What happens if I'm living with my grandmother? Because I have some people in my ministry that are that way.
Mm-hmm.
They had no great relationship with their dad. They had no great relationship when my dad was my mom. But they didn't have that relationship with their mom or their dad. And so, who's that relationship with? It's with my grandmother, or it's with my homies, my boys. That's where I feel comfortable hanging.
Speak more to that, because there are a lot of people out there who never had. I mean, I personally never had a relationship with my father, and that's what I did. I seeked out fatherhood from
other areas.
My brothers, my friends, my friends' parents. That's because as a young man, you're always seeking for that fatherhood that was missing. So speak more on that about people who don't have that.
Yes,
because it is. People always say, well, you're blessed. You turn out okay because you had both father
parents.
and mother. You had both parents. But what about some people like me who had one mom who worked 3 jobs? It's like, and people say, well, you just got lucky. No, it ain't no luck.
No luck.
There's a lot of work.
It's hard work. Because once again, it's like, and even I had both parents, but my dad worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs. Because he had his regular job, and then he would do like maintenance work in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
janitorial, because he has janitorial service, and then he would do like other handy jobs on the weekend, fixing cars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then my mom, she worked at a daycare, and then she would be home. So a lot of us the term at the time was latchkey. We had we would come in and let ourselves in and do homework and all that. But for the ones that you may not have the best relationship with with your folks, you don't have the thing the thing you can do is do your best with what you have, and try not to. And it's hard, very difficult, because I've had cousins who were on the other side of the law, and try your best not to. And it's hard. It's very, very difficult. But try your best and try and find those positive those positive people that potentially could be in your life that could help you along the way, and to keep you on the straight and narrow, because
It's always said. It's always said,
I hung out a little bit, and it's not good to be on that other side. It's not good to be on that other side.
I think we don't need to go there, because then I'd have to share my. But it's always the excuses. The excuses that you got lucky, but when everything is against you, then basically you give up, and I don't give in to that.
But if the people say you're lucky, is it lucky, or I'm Catholic Christian, so I don't believe in luck.
Yeah.
I believe in Jesus Christ. So Jesus saved you because there is something that He needs you to do in your life for someone. I didn't understand that until the last 10, 15 years.
Say that again.
There's no luck as a Catholic Christian. To me, I could be wrong, but to me, there's no luck, because I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ is the one who saved me from anything that negative could have happened. Because you think about it, all the things that potentially could have gone wrong, dude, and they didn't. But somebody else got busted at that time.
I'm telling you.
Oh.
Those are blessings.
Oh.
I think we can have an episode just completely about the times when we averted dangers.
I'm calling, and I'm not going to say when, I'm calling on my boys, right? What's going on? I can't find anybody. So I'm sitting at home, all weekend. I find out on Monday they're all in jail. Because I wasn't with them Friday night.
Or your car broke down and everybody else got arrested.
I'm doing other stuff.
That's a personal testimony.
I'm doing other stuff, right? And I didn't go to their house or that party with all the other guys at that time.
Anointed and protected.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I every morning I say, thank you, Jesus, for helping me make it through this day. Thank you for waking me up this morning. What's your plan for today?
And I think when
I'm in. Whatever
when you
want,
find
I'm
out
in.
that you're that blessed, that He has a plan for you, then you say yes.
Arnell, to this day, to right now, before I came in, it's just a blessing because everything that He's done for me, I can't, I tell Allah, and good things happen, and I say, Lord, I can't give enough back because all the gifts and the blessings that I've received over the years, I feel I should be doing more. That's why I'm here doing this.
In the middle of a rainstorm.
In the middle of a rainstorm. I should be helping more, doing more. And, my wife, my family, all the other people in the church, oh, you do so much. Just like the lady was telling you. I said, and I tell myself, I said, it's a small price to pay for all the blessings that He's given me. For all the things that He's shared. Kept me alive, kept me safe all these years.
And the thing is, you're multiplying loaves.
Oh,
right there.
I'm trying. Well,
You're multiplying loaves by the people that you touch, by the
Trying.
things, and people may be hearing this.
trying.
You know, one of the sisters who told me, it's like, when I said, I keep saying this, when I say I want to stop because it's like, this is a pain in the butt. Why are we doing this podcast episode? And she literally said, and this is what I always have to go back on, is if one person is touched, if one person is listening, and that's who the Lord sent.
I quit. I quit my ministry. That's it. And then I can say on Sunday. And then on Sunday, I talked to a person or some people, and they said, "You know what? Thank you for doing this, this, and this. It really helped me." I said, "What did I do?" "Well, you helped me with this. Remember you did this?" I'm like, "Oh, well, yeah, but to me, it's like it's a little thing.
Yeah.
But for them, it's such a big." And that's what I'm talking about. That whole process of conversion, that whole that process of relationship with Him. Because when you know it and you believe it, it's that ultimate friend that you have that you can call on, and you may not get what you want at the time, but you know that He's got your best interest at heart. That you got to continue on the path because whatever it is, it's going to happen. Oh Lord, I need that $20 so I can give it to my wife, or so I can put it in the collection. And now I got to go to the ATM, and then I'm looking at
Got my 20.
He's there. He's real. He's alive. And you know what? You got to go on Sunday. You have opportunities every day. Receive your sacrament. Receive the Eucharist.
You said, I got this. You gave up your ministries. Why?
Oh, I was so frustrated with the process.
There's sometimes that
with the mob.
Yeah.
Because I'm fighting. I'm constantly fighting. Why am I fighting? I'm trying to do Christ's work.
Got to you.
Oh yeah. But then when you talk to people that you're actually doing the work with or for, how am I going to stop?
Yeah.
That's that infusion, that energy. That's that Holy Spirit that says, bang!
That's when the Holy Spirit actually comes down and convicts you and pulls you out. When you're walking away and grabs you by your shirt tail.
No doubt, bro.
And by your neck and says, well, hold on, Marcus.
No doubt, bro.
I'm not done with you yet.
No doubt, bro. So what do you think the 11 were like with the Blessed Mother in the upper room? They're scared to death. Their leader was murdered on the cross. He was killed. They're picking up all your boys that walked with you guys for 2 years. You guys were hanging, going to beaches and cities, and all of a sudden, some of the people that were in charge, they lied on him. Got the police to arrest him, and then the mayor, the governor, they said, all right, we're going to kill him. And now they're looking for you. So you're afraid, you're scared, and what are you going to do? And then you're sitting there and you're talking, what are we going to do? How are we going to survive? Where are we going to hide? And then all of a sudden, these tongues of fire man, you're speaking, but you're speaking like in your native language. You're speaking in a way that is just more powerful. You're not scared anymore. You're stronger. You know what, you have that confidence. You know what you're saying. You're on the journey. You're learning. And you feel, you know who you are. Because you have that relationship with Christ, ladies and gentlemen.
You're transformed.
Bingo.
You're transformed.
Bingo.
And I think that's a lot of times people have not had that transformation or understanding that they've been transformed.
Correct.
It's so easy to quit
Yes.
because my person was hurt.
Yes. Yes.
And so then I leave, I walk away.
Yes.
But God doesn't call you to walk away.
Mhm.
God calls you to walk towards. He says, come closer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Come closer. And it will hurt.
Yes.
It will hurt. Sometimes pride is the most hurt thing.
Like the priest told me, he said, you know, if you're going to if you're going to walk in his footsteps, walk in his sandals, do the things that he did, you are going to experience the same trials and tribulations.
Amen.
But we forget because it's like, well, I'm doing Christ's work and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and everything should be cool. Everybody should understand.
We're comfortable. Yeah, and that's one of those things where you have to be careful of being overly comfortable.
Right.
Because that means you're just going along to get along.
And what is this ministry work about? Is it about a social club?
Yeah.
Or is it building the kingdom?
Mm-hmm.
And I hopefully you're building the kingdom one brick at a time. One brick represents one person at a time.
The challenges, accepting those challenges and moving on and doing the work.
Right.
You know, I got you right there because, you know, it's hard sometimes when you don't feel the love. And the thing is, I think that was something in my journey, that I was looking for the love. I was looking for the acceptance, but I was missing the point of surrender.
Correct.
Which is that love and that acceptance does not come from man.
Correct.
And doesn't even come from man's church.
Correct.
But it comes from him alone. And when you get to understand that, then you're good.
What's going to stop you?
Yeah, what's going to stop you? So
Nothing.
you continue. Hence, we continue the podcast after a pause of almost a year. We continue because we need to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
We need to have these moments of clarity where we actually listen and dialogue and allow to speak. Hence, AKA hashtag. I think my daughters told me, Dad, hashtags are gone, but I'm still hashtagging. I'm old. I'm hashtagging. That whole hashtag of synodality.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's over. You know, we had this conversation before we started about this synodality. How much we think we actually did not do that well.
It should not, yeah.
But we need to continue because synodality is about conversation. It's about listening. It's supposed to be ongoing.
Yeah, it's bringing us together. It brings us together as a people.
And at times, just like family, because we are a family of God, children of God, and this is the family.
Yep.
And sometimes that family, we don't quite see eye to eye. And we need to actually listen to people who disagree with us.
Because
listen.
Yeah, who are we?
Yeah.
We're all people of God, right?
And so that we can, as I said, we can agree to disagree. But that doesn't mean that doesn't change. That means that I can then bring back what I disagree with you and actually marinate in that and say, why did I disagree with Marcus? I mean, he was so convicted in what he was sharing. Why do I disagree? Is it in my heart? And let me bring that to prayer and the Holy Spirit.
The way I was raised.
Is it my environment? The way that I was raised? And the question is, am I racist?
Right.
Because that is a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that is a constant in our life. That is a constant in our church. That is a constant in our community.
Am I a hater?
Am I a hater? And it's like, and it's okay to come to terms with, well, yeah, I am. Now, how do we grow from that?
Because it makes you better. Because you know who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to share this, that when I say racist, that doesn't mean that you're white and you're racist, and only white people are racist. Yeah. I'm going to tell you, I'm Filipino, we're very racist.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as black people, they're very racist.
Very
Black
racist
people.
too.
And it's like the Hispanics, they're very racist. And you know, there's people in every culture who we feel we're always better than the other.
Oh yeah.
But there's an actual definition of racism, and we can look that up. And that is in us, in concupiscence, that we sometimes look at ourselves as better than the other, and the othering of people. And we come to, and we have to have that conversation.
It is not just, you know, like you said, you know, black and white and brown and white, but it's the other being those that are on the margins.
Mm-hmm.
The others are the ones who, they're the homeless. The others are the drug, you know, the ones that were on drugs or need medication.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what are we doing about them? Where's the, you know, the synodality? Where's the solidarity?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the Catholic social teaching where, you know, we have to, you know, be able to not look out for one another, but also look out for the environment as well.
Yeah. I always like to tell people it's not either or in our social justice teachings. It's not either or, but it's both and. It's all of the above.
All the above.
It's all the above.
And
you
why?
can't just pick and choose one.
Why? Yeah, but it's not. It's not a buffet. Oh, I feel good. I feel good about this. Oh no, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
You know what?
I'm more convicted on this.
Yeah, grab an oar, baby.
Yeah.
We're all. You may not like it, but we're all in the same boat together.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we just roll along, and we roll along to get along, because you may have a gift that others may not like. You may have personally, but there's that one person that may need your gift or your talent one day, and then you'll be able to share that gift with them.
I had a person call me out on not posting enough about a certain aspect, and I'm like, well, talk to me about it. You know, well, I don't need to talk to you. It's like, you should. I said, don't should me. I said, don't should me. Enter into conversation with me, because maybe that topic is uncomfortable for me, and I don't have enough to say.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so you shouldn't should someone just because the worst thing you can have is someone posting somebody else's post who actually doesn't understand it.
And that's the wrong thing
doesn't
to do.
get it.
Yeah.
And that is not fair.
No.
That is not fair.
That's just as good as lying.
Yeah. Enter into that. What we teach, what we're supposed to be doing in that synodality is listening, entering into conversation, and let's work on that.
And what is this whole thing, this synodality? That's just this big fancy word. What does it mean? It means, you know what? We're not being dictatorial from the ivory tower. The ivory tower is not telling you, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. It's not the parents saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're not going to do that. It's not the ministry leader says, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. The pastor saying, you know what? We're talking from the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you always hear, you know, what does Catholic mean? Universal. I hate that. I like to say Catholic means community.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a community, what do? We're on the journey together. We dialogue together. And the great thing we can do is we can share our faith together.
And we're invitational.
Using
all those Catholic buzzwords.
Absolutely. And so that whole thing of being able to, synodality, is being able to listen to the community, listen to everyone give their perspective. We want to hear from you. We want to hear how you're feeling, what's making it work. And then, you know what, we can't fix it all.
Mm-hmm.
But what we can do is we can try our best.
I think that's
because there's a lot of commonality, Arnell.
Yeah. But I think it's where we dropped the ball. And I'm only speaking within my experience, within my own local church. And I think we dropped the ball a little bit on that, because it did feel like it was coming from the top down instead of what we're talking about was from the bottom up.
We all did. I think people got tired. And
yeah.
It was like people were waiting for that next push. It was like, no, let's just do it.
Yeah.
We can do it here. We don't need to get it from the diocese or USCCB or the Vatican. They've already laid the policy and the program out. They laid the process. They've laid it out for all the gatherings and the dialogues and.
It's almost like every single thing that we do and every single initiative we move on. Okay, next. It's like, okay, what's the next item on the agenda? And I think with how that's supposed to be looked at is that focus on synodality is ongoing. I mean, it hasn't ended.
No.
No, it hasn't ended, and I
No.
think a little focus on that is for us as a church understand it hasn't ended. It's ongoing.
It should not. It should not end,
Mm-hmm.
because in this Catholic Christian faith of who we are,
Mm-hmm.
and learning and developing that relationship with Christ, it's not a one-time thing. It's consistent and it's ongoing throughout your life.
Wait,
So-
are you
so-
telling me that conversion is?
So think about it, and you know this well. So what happens with young people after they receive their confirmation?
Well, they graduate.
And we don't see them until,
Yeah. Well, they go to college,
and then
they get married.
that's when they come back, right?
Well, no.
Well, sometimes.
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 Yeah, I read a book. It says God will not have grandchildren, at least in this generation. That was true for our generation.
Yeah.
That was true in a generation where, well, they're catechized. They'll come back out when they get married.
Yeah.
But a lot of this young people now are becoming nuns, and well, nuns don't have children.
Right.
Not literal nuns, N-U-N-S.
N-O-N-E-S.
And yes, nuns don't have children, but people who leave the church, they won't have children, so God won't have grandchildren.
Yeah.
They'll have us, they'll have our children,
Yeah.
but they won't have
That
our
next
children's children, the next generation, because, we have not built that community.
Of cradles. Now, what we're finding is folks from other faiths that are coming in.
They're coming in.
Yes, with their children.
And they have deep
Ooh.
questions.
There's
Like
no doubt.
deep questions.
Oh, they
Like,
want to know.
like
about
they go to mass and they're the converts because they bring their Bible,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
and they're like, oh, we don't bring Bibles. Oh no, we have a missalette.
Yeah. So what about all these statues?
What's with the statues?
What's up with these statues?
It's like, yeah, I love those questions because again, as my mom catechized us, she catechized us through statues and stained glass windows and the Stations of the Cross and the altar, and so my mom only had an 8th grade education. So it wasn't because our family wasn't educated, it was because she stopped school to marry my father who had a 6th grade education. Because it was true back then that if you came back as an educated woman, you're not going to marry a person who's a farmer.
Right.
So she fell in love. And
Back in the day.
and
It was different times.
and they made life very well because of their desire to make something of themselves, to prove something. And as they said, we want you to have a life better than what we had. And I think that's not shared enough. That's for another episode.
Yeah.
That I think in this generation is coming, that they might not be that generation that has a better life than their parents. I think that's becoming, studies show that Gen Alpha will not be that generation that will be more financially successful than their parents.
The Gen Alpha, what age group is that?
So that is the generation that is currently 2010 to present. So those are
2010. What do you mean?
they were born in 2010.
Oh, okay.
These kids who were born with a cell phone on their hands.
Oh, okay. So
They popped out of their moms with an iPhone.
Okay, so they're 14 years old.
Yeah, 14 years old.
Okay, they're 8th grade,
Yeah.
8th grade, 9th
8th
grade.
grade, 9th grade.
Gotcha.
8th grade, 9th grade, 7th
Sorry about
grade,
that.
6th grade. So this generation, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be successful.
Right.
But our terminology on what we put as being successful by our parents is that you owned a house.
Oh yeah, the standards.
And you had 2 children, a dog, a house,
Yeah.
and 2 cars.
Oh yeah.
Where that's not the criteria for them.
Oh yeah. No.
And they're not looking for that.
Oh yeah. Even my daughter who's in her 30s, she's not.
Yeah.
That's not successful.
That's not their priority. Whereas
Oh, yeah, no.
in my generation, my priority was I want a house, and
Yep.
that's why at age 22 I had a house
Mhm.
because I met that goal.
Mhm.
Check. Let me work on the next one. I need to be married.
Right.
27.
Yep.
Check.
Yep.
We need to have children.
Yep.
Had 2. Check. Check.
Yep.
It's I need to be secure in my retirement. Okay, working on that. Check.
Yep.
So those are my check marks.
But the world is the world.
Yeah,
has
the world's
changed.
different. I mean,
The
it's
world's
like
different.
I remember it's like,
And that's a good point. But go ahead.
no, I was just saying that, putting off vacations and things like
Oh,
this
yeah.
because, well, you're taking care of kids. You're trying to meet these,
Keep working.
these expectations of the goals that I had set for myself.
Okay, to that point, the world has changed. And so our family. So how do we, as Catholic Christians, how do we live in this world that's changed? World that's changing. World that's changing.
What Marcus, when I'm seeing that there is a need, and I think I shared this in a past episode, that many young people are seeking community. They are literally seeking a place where they belong.
Interesting.
And the reason why I share that is in discussion with young people, the 14, 15-year-olds who grew up in the COVID generation. I lovingly call them the COVID generation, who grew up in their room on Zoom at school and seeing their friends on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
They're actually longing for that physicality
Really?
of community and building community and meeting people
Interesting.
face to face. I love the fact that they will enter into a conversation with me that's like almost like what we're having now. It's conversation. I mean, the level of conversation is different. But unlike us, when we were 14, you'd never go up to a person who's way older than you and have that one-on-one conversation and try to hold it. It's like, oh no, you just say sir,
right?
And thank you, and get out of the way.
It's like,
please. Yeah, it's like you were meant to be seen and not heard.
Not seen, not heard. Yeah.
And this generation is they want to be seen and heard.
Interesting. Yeah, because they don't have that interaction.
They don't have that interaction.
No.
And the whole concept of seeing someone who is online, because they're the online generation, the internet generation, where no one knows that you're only 14 years old and you're having this total conversation with someone who has a doctorate, who has a master's degree, and your info and what you're saying is valid. And so I think that's where
you guys hear that out there?
Community.
You hear what he's saying?
Yeah.
Those of you that are 14, 15, 13?
Well, and it is. And they need to be taken as what you're saying is valid, is factual, is true. But how do we walk with that community when we know they're still growing? Because what I tell people is, I know what you're saying is true, and you believe it. But what you're believing now in your 10s, in your teens, may be different in your 20s. Because I know it was different for me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my thoughts and my feelings and my political views in my 20s is so different now that I'm in my 50s. It changes throughout the decades.
Oh, yeah.
Not to say that it's bad when you were...
Oh, no.
It just means that we progress.
You talk about the conversion.
Yeah. And just like our faith, it grows. But my personal view on where the church grows in this new evangelization, and I think I'm preaching this too much, in this new evangelization, is evangelizing those who are already evangelized.
Oh.
And so the new evangelization isn't going into Borneo where someone never met Christ, or going to the Amazon, but no, that's not new evangelization. That one happened 500 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The new evangelization is trying to evangelize those people.
That makes sense.
Were evangelized. They were baptized. They were confirmed. They had their sacraments, but they're not living out their faith.
Or they've fallen away and gone to that other
And those
Christian
people,
faith.
and those people aren't Gen Alpha or Gen Z. Those are their parents.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think I harped on this, and this might be one of my rant episodes, but it's the people who are neglected in our catechesis is not the youth. It's the parents of those youth who were expecting. Yeah, one of my biggest pet peeves, Marcus, is that when we say, you parents are the primary catechists.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Biggest, huge pet peeves. Please, stop saying that. Stop saying that, because if we're saying, it might be true for some, but it's not true for most.
Because they don't know.
Because they don't know.
They don't have a relationship with Christ.
They don't.
They don't
have a
prayer
relationship
life
with a mass.
Right.
If that.
If
If that.
Right. Because we have all these other activities that we're doing on Sunday.
Or my faith is cultural. Don't get me started on cultural Catholicism.
Oh.
Don't get me started on that.
Or the Super Bowl.
There were so many posts, and it made me
goodness.
cringe where they said that the mass in the evening was canceled because of the Super Bowl.
Because the Super Bowl.
And I was like, oh, we just put Jesus to the side, kick him to the curb. We just kicked Jesus to the curb. And it was like, oh, it's kind of like that whole thing I used to say. It's like, if Jesus was at Starbucks, would you go? Would you run to Starbucks because Jesus was at Starbucks?
Oh.
But Taylor Swift is over there at the Walmart. Where would you go?
Oh, in the same day?
Same day.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know they go to Walmart.
That's a good one.
They go to Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's Taylor Swift.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a Swiftie.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I'm not either.
Yeah.
It's like, but, go where Christ is. And that Starbucks is actually at your church. Yeah. I love the fact it says,
That's interesting.
I didn't go to Mass because I went to a retreat.
Oh.
Or I went to... when I did ministry, there was one rule that we had. If someone celebrating a Mass while we're doing youth ministry gets canceled, we don't have youth group. We go to Mass.
We go to Mass.
It's like, and shame on the group that put on a Mass when we were having our youth group.
Why?
But Jesus came.
Why?
We're Eucharistic centered in every single ministry.
There you
I always cringe when there's a Mass and then there's a group that's having their meeting the same time as the Mass. I mean, you need to cancel your meeting, or you need to move your meeting into the Mass.
Why is it important? Why is it important to go to the Mass?
Marcus, if Jesus...
Source in the summit, bro.
Yeah, if Jesus showed up, and he does, I always tell people, have you ever experienced a miracle? And they're like, oh no. I'm like, really? How many times have you gone to Mass? There's that ecclesial moment, and Jesus shows up, and we weren't there.
We don't believe it. We don't believe it.
We don't believe it, and we need to. That's the new evangelization.
Only
How do we
25% of us,
evangelize when we say
believe
that the parents are the primary catechists, but we're not catechizing the parents?
True.
Then we're not doing our job.
True.
That's why I think catechetical ministry needs to make a paradigm shift, that we actually do family catechesis
Mm-hmm.
and actually allow those parents to catechize their children.
Yep.
But how do we do that? That is something
That's changed the whole paradigm.
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, that's changed the whole.
That's gonna hurt because those are muscles we haven't used.
Because what are the parents doing? They're using youth as a babysitting service while they're running around and doing this, and that.
They drop them off and catechesis, and just like schools, they drop them off and they say to the teachers, "It's your job.
Your responsibility.
It's your job to teach them." Whereas I grew up where my mom, who didn't know as much, sat down and said, "You will do your homework. What questions do you have? Let me find that for you."
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
And she monitored.
And that not only that, but discipline.
Yeah. Oh, I remember my mom. There was someone that says, someone showed me a video of a mom going off on a teacher. I was like, that would never happen with my mom. My mom's first question was, "What did you do?"
Yeah.
She wouldn't go at the teacher and says,
Yeah.
"It's your fault." So my mom said, "What'd you do?" Even if it was a teacher's mistake, my mom would first say, "What did you do?" Because she knew me. And
My sisters would call me in college and say, "What did you do to Mrs. So-and-so?" I said, "What are you talking about?" All she does is say, "I know your brother when he was here in this elementary school." And I have your mom's telephone number at work.
Literally, it's like my daughters used to say, we never got to celebrate parties, we never got to go to quinceañeras because my dad ruined it for us. Because he knew it was going to happen. And that's wisdom.
I'm a dad.
I'm a dad. I don't want to place you in that harm's way. I know what people do in those parties.
Yeah, I was there. I want to keep
I
you
threw
safe.
those.
I want to keep you safe. So a bad thing won't happen.
And I think that is so much also in the church, and why we we're so adamant in ministry as fathers. And I think that's one thing I always like to share is we need more fathers like you, Marcus, like me, like some of those other fathers who need to come and lead ministry. And that's not taking away from the women.
No, not at all.
You know, that's not taking away from the
not
women.
at
But
all.
I think men need to come into the fold.
That balance. It's just balance.
And
Just balance.
start to lead. And this doesn't mean just be part of the usher ministry.
Mm.
It doesn't actually mean teach, because I firmly believe that
Yeah.
young people come and follow their fathers
Mm-hmm.
into church,
Mm-hmm.
and mothers guide them
I agree 100%.
in the church.
I agree
You know,
100%.
they need that love, but they need that leadership that comes from a dad. And for some of those people who don't have fathers, guess what? They find them in the church.
I was going to say that. Plus, I was going to say, and think about when you start doing your research and starting to read Scripture, you think about not only the 12, but you think about all the women that are mentioned in in New Testament that were there with Jesus and the apostles. There were a lot of women that always
Mhm.
helped and supported that ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you get further after the crucifixion, resurrection, and the ascension, and you read Acts of the Apostles, you read Paul to Ephesians, Corinthians, Galatians, Colossians. You read and it'll be women that were there, because the women were there. They were the sponsors, they were the helpers, they were the supporters. They were there. That a lot of them they had the homes that they would meet in, the land that where they would gather for a lot of the talks.
And
So it's men and women.
it is, and there is a balance. There's whole conversations we can have with roles of women in the church, and there's always that question, it's like, why can't they be priests? And we could talk about that ad nauseum. But this isn't that episode. It's about dads.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
about
we'll have
dads.
that when we have the I Confess Moms. But yeah, it's just an amazing thing when that question is, we need more fathers in the church. And it's not father so-and-so. It's not the priest.
Not the priest.
We need more
Dads.
fathers. We need more dads.
And it's hard
to
because
come into
the dads
church.
the dads are doing things, they're working, but
I think we need.
like I
I
said
think
earlier,
we need a ministry of catechesis for dads.
Oh, there's no doubt.
I think that's something that we just thought that out right now.
Some parishes that around the country,
CFBs.
some parishes around the country, they have, and I was doing one for a men's group that I was doing, but they have men's group that are cyclists.
Mm-hmm.
They have a little prayer group, and they go out and they ride bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Little prayer group afterwards. They're home by 9, 10. They have another groups cross country down in South.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are they like to make breakfast, so they'll meet at, just like Nice Columbus. They'll meet at the church hall, or if the church has a kitchen, they'll have a little prayer group. They'll talk about making food, sit down, discuss a couple of things. What help does father need done. Another group in the South, they have their barbecue guys.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll have a little men's prayer group, and they're you got to wait for the barbecue to cook anyway.
Yeah.
So they're grilling and chilling and talking about Christ.
Yeah. I still believe in this one group that I had thought of a long time ago when it was part of youth ministry. Because youth ministry, you hardly see any dads. You see the moms helping in the parent support groups, but you never see any dads. And I had floated this thought before I had left active youth ministry. And I floated this thought of, why not, have dads who are good with changing tires, oil changes.
Sure.
And because there are dads who do that. And there are young people who, because they don't have auto shop anymore in schools.
Right.
And there are kids who are growing up who don't know how to change oil, don't know how to change a tire, and the basic stuff. So how about we have a section of ministry that just that. During the Mass, sign up, bring your oil, we'll change your oil, we'll teach your young men and young women to how to do that. I
guys
saw
who
that.
do that.
Yeah, there are guys who do that. I think that would
Who
be
want
a
to do that.
wonderful,
They want to do
wonderful
that.
way. And in the process, not being forced
They're passing it on.
Scripture down people's throat, but you're allowing them to open up and become part.
Absolutely.
And then they walk the rest of the way.
Absolutely.
You know, it's kind of like the whole concept we had, or our vision in ministry was not to force the Eucharist down their throat, but to lead them closer to Christ.
Correct.
Lead them closer to Christ, which means that we don't force you. We get you close enough, and then you have to walk the rest of the way. And this is the way to be invitational,
No
relational.
doubt. No doubt.
And fathers
No doubt.
have great abilities, and we just have to discover them and provide them the opportunities. Yeah.
You
Realizing potentials, providing opportunities.
you can DVR the game and just come bring your family to church.
Mm-hmm.
Because church the Mass is not as important as it used to be.
It's not the center.
It's not the center. Now, and one of the gentlemen in my parish, he always says, you know, Mark, he says, but the church, Christ becomes the center. You get cancer, kids get sick, lose your job, you get ready to lose your house, then you're praying every day. You're praying every day on your knees at church. Father, can I get some help? Come and bless me. Come to the hospital, and then Christ becomes the center.
Yeah, they always say that, you know, church is important. Jesus isn't important until, you know, we don't believe when everything's going well,
Right.
but we all of a sudden believe when things are falling apart. It's like what used to be with Divine Mercy group in church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who do you see who is not usually there in Divine Mercy? Well, people who are struggling with something.
Right.
They have some disease. They're asking for the Lord's mercy. They're asking and begging for a miracle. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with
Nothing.
that. But once God gives you that miracle, you fall out. Everything's good. Thanks, God.
It's all good. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to my own ways. You know?
And why? Because he did. You know, the same gentleman would say, we have to, when things are going great, that's when we have to call His name. That's when we have to pray more. Because then we're showing God all the goodness that He's given us, all the graces that He's shared, how much we appreciate it.
Yeah. It's not always a prayer of request. Ask.
No,
it's very much an immature way of doing things, because, you know, it's always when we were young, we always asked our Father. It's like, you know, give me.
Can I have? He would say, my dad would say, can I have?
Yeah, give me. Give me this, give me that. It's like we're always asking. And God is there, Jesus is there listening. Yeah.
But He's waiting for us to do our part. We have to do our part. We can't, you know, because He's going to give us what we've asked in His time, not in our time. But we have to do the things that, you know, as a child of God, we have to do the things to show Him that we're deserving, because none of us are deserving.
Yeah, and
we're
all
all sinners.
I love that part where someone always asks me about, you know, Protestant services or other services versus the Catholic Mass and how much different it was. One of our listeners that recently DM'd me on that, and I said, well, there's a huge difference, and it's simply in the word service, where you come to their church to be served, so you may receive something.
Right.
Whereas in the Mass, we come to worship.
Yes.
We may not receive something, and you should, and you always do.
Right.
But you didn't go there so that you can be served, but you went there to serve, to actually work. God calls you to be present.
Correct.
And
You're
that is beautiful
right.
enough.
You're absolutely right.
Jesus says, come sit with me.
Absolutely.
For an hour.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's all I ask.
That's all I ask.
Sit with me. It's your obligation.
A little time.
Yeah, just give me a little time. Just sit with me and participate in my love.
Oh, you know, but Arnell, you know, the homily is just so boring.
The homily is boring.
The music.
Oh, the music was so
feel
bad. They can't carry that note. They need a
can't
better
carry it
choir.
too.
And the Lord says, you know what? Why don't you sing? It's like, oh no, I don't have time for that.
But that's not. Yeah.
I'm busy.
But I like those coffee and donuts afterwards. But the reason that you go is not to be entertained. That's what the Protestants have done. They have churned this
I love
certain that this mass, this service, this relationship with Christ, they've changed it into a show,
an event.
an event.
Yeah, I love that whole statement. I'm not cracking on you guys, but the thing is when we say that I went to worship, and I've been to worship with y'all, and it was a concert,
Right,
but that wasn't worship.
right.
That was, and you say, yeah, we were singing to the Lord.
Oh, singing to the
but,
Lord.
But yeah, but that was singing to the Lord.
Right.
That was very me-centered, because I totally enjoyed it. I was like, I went to, it's kind of like when I used to go to concerts when I was younger.
Yep.
Oh, it wasn't about the band. It was about me. It was completely about me, because the other bands who sang before that main band, I didn't really listen. I don't listen. I didn't like them.
Come on, guys. Let's get to
let's
get to my guy.
It was about me.
Yeah.
But when I go to mass and the choir is awful, I give it back.
Sing louder.
I sing louder. You know why? You know why I sing louder in the mass when the choir is bad? Then I only hear me.
You only let the Lord know. That's my old pastor used to say.
I hear it less.
Hear them less.
I hear them less. But it is beautiful when the whole congregation is singing.
But Arnell, the reason we
praying.
do it, the reason we do it is to listen to those words that Jesus spoke in the gospel. We listen to the Old Testament to hear what our Jewish ancestors, what they have done to lead us up to where we are today. Mm-hmm. We hear that second reading, which talks about where we were as Gentiles, and how now we're able to share in the full communion with Christ. And then the crescendo, the high point, the source and the summit is to receive the body and blood.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's for real. He died for our sins, all of us. Those of you that are watching, listening. He gave his blood for each and every one of us.
And that is I have no words to
Romans
even
chapter 10, 9 and 10 tells us you have to be able to confess with your mouth, say it with your tongue, that Jesus Christ is Lord. It was Sunday's Mass. Isaiah, he couldn't go out because he couldn't speak the words purely. And the cherubim seraphim came with the charcoal to touch his lips, which gave him the ability to go out and speak. The Holy Spirit came with tongues of fire on the 11, so they would be able to have the strength to go out. Ladies and gentlemen, Arnell is giving you every podcast. He's giving you the strength, giving you the wisdom, giving you the tools, not to be the old Catholic Christians that we were, to be able to, just go to Mass, just say a few prayers. We don't do that anymore. We are evangelizers. We are prepared to go out. We are prepared to go and defend our faith, to be able to talk to people about this faith and be strong, and know what we're talking about. That's why we said in the very beginning, we tell the truth. We let them know they're really real.
Yeah. Amen.
Did I drop the mic on that?
You did. You literally did. And you know what? It's funny because I think we've been talking for like over 2 hours. Doesn't it feel like it's like only 30 minutes?
No.
I was like, we've been talking for over 2 hours.
Oh, dang, I'm sorry.
See, that's what conversation's about. It's kind of like, people complain. People complain about, the Mass is so long. It's an hour long.
Right.
It's an hour long, and we're like, well, no. It's like, and then there's my wife hates this because the Mass is at my church an hour and 15, 20 minutes long, and then my wife will say, we always take 2 cars, because then she'll go home. Because I'll be there for the next hour
talking to
people and having conversations. Oh. So she'll go home with the kids. Because for me, I don't know for you, but the beauty of church, the beauty of church is hanging out with the people of God and talking and saying, what did you get out of that? What did you think of what Father said? So, how's life going? And then having that community, that's what community is. back in the early church, when people worshipped in their homes, people didn't go home.
There you go. I was going to say
They
that.
hung out.
I was going to say that.
They received Jesus, and then they continued to eat food. They talked. They hung out. They probably did Bible study right there because everything was there.
Bible study. There was no Bible.
There was no Bible. Until the 27
Right. What did Paul say? What did John say? What did Peter? You sat with him, or you knew someone that sat with him. What did they teach us again?
Yeah. Having that conversation.
Oh.
I love having conversations.
Yes.
And I always write these things like remember.
Yes.
And doing ministry for so long, doing youth ministry for so long, you start talking about the old youth. Remember when so and so did this? And the younger kids like, oh. You know so-and-so? That was my brother's friend.
Mr. So-and-so. Mr. So-and-so.
It's like, he's a teacher now, or she's a teacher now. Or, it's like, oh, I babysit his kids. I'm like, that's how old you get. That's how old you get when your youth now have kids who are being babysat by their kids that you're still ministering to. It's like, I told Tony, the person I'm helping, I think I still have like a good 4 years to go before I need to move on. Who's gonna want this old guy doing youth ministry? This is a job for young people, but it's not true. This job is not a job for young people.
but like you said, begin to evangelize to those parents. Develop something to get those dads. I don't know what it is, but I do adults. I don't know you, but we need to figure something out. What what's. But but on the flip side, like Bishop told me a long time ago, if you're not ready, but a long time ago, my dad was alive and we're in elementary school. The pastor would say, you know what, we need some men to, we need trees, so we need someone with a landscaping business to help, and so the guys would get together on Saturday morning and do that. We need a janitorial service to come in, clean, buff and shine the floors. So, but that stopped.
Yeah.
But that's what you're talking about. We need to have, that men's group, father labor intensive. Because if you think of it, father calls, father puts out, people will respond.
Yeah. And then transform that into not simply expecting the men to do the manual labor.
No, you're right.
To actually going off and saying,
teach.
I want to teach.
Teach.
And it's okay if you don't know all, because we don't know all.
Correct.
We got all these books in here, and it's like someone asked me, do you remember all the books you read? It's like, no, actually, I'm at that age where I have the book, and I bought it also on audio because I want to listen to the book.
Absolutely.
So I have double books, one on audio, one that's actually a book, and sometimes I even have it on my iPad because I want to highlight
Kindle.
it. Yeah, I'm on my Kindle. So
yeah, my big audio book guide.
It's great reading. It's great listening.
Yeah, because of work and everything. Yeah. So I can listen wherever I go.
But yeah, we need to encourage our men to move from to go out there and teach, and we need to be a church that actually allows our men to be teachers again, be leaders within the church. And I'm not harping on the fact that a lot of women.
That's a good point. I hate to interrupt. And we need to do some research. The other Christian faiths, are they going to do the same thing?
And I don't know. I just see.
We need to find out.
Yeah. I just don't think so.
Because they participate. Because I remember some guys that were at Harvest or Grove.
They have this whole concept on the armor of God. They got these men putting on the armor of God and truly encouraging their men to be that man of God.
Interesting.
And that is not to say, because someone said to me, is because we're so Marian-like. There's nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful.
We're so Marian-like.
Yeah, because we're always Mary. It's like, where's Joseph? Where's Joseph in this? It's like, no. Oh. Joseph is vitally important.
Interesting.
But we always say that Joseph is very silent. But
interesting.
But us men, we can be very Marian. I'm a very Marian devotee.
Oh yeah.
But also my mom. My mom's Mary, and my mom told me to speak up.
Ema, you better call her. You better call her. So, And those that don't have a relationship with your mom, call. That's the mother to call on, because she'll get it done.
Okay.
Because you say, oh no, I'll just pray to Jesus. You can pray to Jesus, but what influence will your prayer? I was listening to an audiobook the other day, and our prayers are in a bowl, and that bowl and those prayers, they go into that bowl, and they go to Jesus. But those prayers that we pray to his mother, she puts those on a golden platter, because she hears them and she feels them like a mother's love, and she gives those to her son, and he sees those, and those have mother's stamp of approval.
Jesus, I trust in you.
Yes, I trust in you.
That's my 3 o'clock prayer.
Yeah.
Jesus, I trust in you. Amen.
And what do you think those prayers are? And that's from St. Louis de Montfort. What are those prayers like? Those are like manna from heaven. Those are like supernatural food that are on steroids. Those prayers, they just happen because you prayed to mom, and mom brought them to you. That means you really love my mom that much. Oh, you're getting a little special attention. You're getting a little more love.
It's kind of like when I was a kid and I really wanted to do something. This is my sisters used to tell me, and they really wanted to go somewhere. They wouldn't go to dad.
Right.
They'd go to mom.
Absolutely.
And they'd ask mom, can you like talk to dad?
Absolutely.
Because I know he'll say no.
Absolutely.
But if he hears it from you,
absolutely.
He may not say yes, but it goes so much better.
Oh, yeah.
And he will listen to you and he'll understand.
Absolutely.
Because you know how to. He knows you and he loves you, and he loves me. But
if
he'll
you put
listen
that
to
little
you.
touch on it.
Yeah. But
it goes back to Old Testament.
That's how my mom used to explain it to me.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, well, that's how sometimes God is.
Absolutely.
That's why we pray to our Mother Mary. That's why we pray the Rosary.
Absolutely. Because you think about back in the Old Testament, King David, Solomon, the queen wasn't their wife. Yeah, wasn't their mother. I mean, wasn't their wife. The queen was the mother.
So how my mom taught me, it's like, why Mary's on the right side of Jesus? And she was like, it's like, where do you get all this? Like, that's how she learned. That was her catechesis.
That's right,
That's
bro.
why I'm a firm believer in the way that the church looks and the way it's designed.
Absolutely.
Needs to teach.
Absolutely.
It can't be like our Protestant churches where it's all blank and there's nothing on there. Our churches are meant to teach. It's alive. Every statue that's there's a story behind it.
Absolutely.
Every nook and cranny of a church, there's a story. Every step up to the altar, holy, holy, holy is the Lord. Every cross that's on the altar, there's a meaning for it.
Absolutely.
Every stained glass window, every triangle. My mom said, well, you know why there's a triangle there? Holy Trinity. I'm like,
absolutely.
like, Mom, I think that's just a design. But she would pick up certain things, and she was like, you know why there's a square there? And I'm like, why? It's like 4 marks of the church. And I'm like, no, I think that's just a design.
It's just a square.
But my mom would pull out teachings by just walking inside the church. She was not a theologian, but the design, it was there.
Like we talked earlier, this faith is not all in the scriptures, the tradition, the magisterium. It's not all in the brain. It's in your heart. It's in your soul. But what you were saying made me think of Joseph, and how you said we're such a Marian church, and it could be true. But if you think about Saint Joseph, Jesus could not be the man he was without Saint Joseph. Because think about Jesus' structure on the way he did things is based on being a hardworking carpenter or a tradesman, not a theologian. And how did he explain things? He didn't explain them at a highbrow, high level. He explained ways that people from the lowest denomination would be able to understand.
That's deep.
Dude, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
That's deep.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. So all you men out there, and Joseph is always sleeping.
I always have him pictured as, I kind of cringe sometimes. I love it. I have a sleeping Joseph on my altar outside, and I always cringe. I was like, oh, we're always portraying Joseph, sleeping Joseph, and I love it. But
say it.
He was active man, alive, working. He was
working. He was getting
Joseph
the message.
the worker.
Joseph was getting the message. God was talking to him. The angels were talking to him. Wake up.
Because he didn't stay asleep. He woke up, listened, and did.
Tell him, brother.
He followed.
Tell him, brother.
And so I think that's what we need to do as
our
men.
lesson, men,
is that when we hear it, and we don't have to be asleep, and we can pretend to be asleep. When we hear that message,
but what is being asleep?
Act on it.
Is asleep being physically asleep?
No.
No. Asleep could be just the lack of knowledge, the lack of knowing. To be awakened to the fact of who he is, the fact of his teaching. Wake up so you can understand them.
Yeah, it's just getting that smack in the back of the head that came from your mom.
Absolutely.
Wake up.
You can hang out all night Saturday night. Time to go to mass at 7 o'clock.
Wake up.
Sunday morning.
My mom would say, "Wake up," and she only asked once.
Or that cold water is coming.
or the slipper, the chancla. It's like, get up, pull that sheet.
Man.
Shoot, and it's like, oh no, you don't ask twice.
You can hang out with your friends all Saturday night. You can go to mass Sunday morning.
That's right. I think, to kind of close us out is many of us, we were raised either by one parent, two parents. But the love that created us to be fathers, for me at least, was from that teaching and from the parent. My mom taught me how to be a father. And even though I did not have my dad physically, she taught me how to be a father by stories that she shared with me about how my dad was. And I think I shared in the last episode, I thought my dad was at least 6 foot tall. He was 5'6", 145 pounds. I mean, he was a tiny man.
Little guy.
Huge, though, because that's how my mom envisioned him. And the way that people see my father was a huge man. So I always laugh when people see me. I was like, you're pretty short. I'm like, it's pretty tall compared to my dad. But my dad was huge. And that is nothing compared to the size of my Father in heaven. That man is massive. That man is massive.
There's nothing that he can't do.
No. And so we're seeking the love of a father, and you don't have that. Just know that there is a Father in heaven.
Call his name. All you gotta do is just call his name and
Amen.
surrender. Just say, Lord, just help me, just help me, and then just wait, and continue to do all the things. Build and develop a prayer life. You don't have to pray, be on your knees but say a prayer in the morning, say a prayer in the evening before you go to sleep. Ask, thank God for allowing you to wake up in the morning, because some of us don't wake up, and thank Him for seeing you through the day, because you made it throughout the day and you're still here.
Amen. See, that's dropping wisdom. I think that's a great way to close out this episode, is that wisdom you just shared. Surrender.
Took me a long time, believe me. Especially when you're that type A. When you're a type A, you got to get it done now.
It's that control freak father.
That control freak father. Oh, my goodness.
I think that testimony would be coming from his children. Oh, yes, Dad is a control freak.
You can call her right now. She'll tell you.
Dad is a control freak. So,
let's end with a prayer.
Yeah, we always end with this. It's like, I always like to say, I apologize for the times I have failed along the way and showed you me instead of Christ. So if there's something that was said here that was hurtful to you, or you think that maybe that's something inappropriate, I want to heartfully say, I apologize for that. And let's have that dialogue and have that conversation. Don't hold it within yourselves,
right. Yeah.
But have that dialogue. Contact us, contact me, and let's talk about why that was hurtful.
Right.
Because that is never the intention
right.
of this podcast. It's simply listen so that we can be heard. That's for each and every one to help. And so, in this I Confess, Confession of Dads, I always like to close it in actually the prayer that we say at every single Mass, where we beg for that primary confession we have, where we ask for forgiveness, when we say, I confess to Almighty God and to you, my brothers and sisters, that I have greatly sinned in my thoughts and in my words, in what I have done and what I have failed to do, through my fault, through my most grievous fault. Therefore I ask Blessed Mary, our Virgin, all the angels and saints, and you, my brothers and sisters, to pray for me to the Lord our God. This is one of my most favorite prayers. Every day at Mass, unless they sing the Kyrie, I always tell people, make sure you tell this to God so that He can absolve you of your venial sins.
Correct.
So that you can be completely good when you enter into worship. And so, again, if you have any comments, concerns, complaints, issues that you want to say, that's all Marcus's fault.
Yeah. I'm part of the mafia.
He's part of the mafia. He is part of the mafia.
You know
but,
it, baby. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to me. Those of you that are listening, and those of you watching, God bless you, and thank all of you. Continue to pray and continue to live well. That's all I can say.
And as always, as we end this episode, please pray for each other. Please pray for us.
Yes.
And as always, live a life of holiness. Be blessed and B3rd. And we'll see you on the next episode. Take care and see you then. Peace. The mission of this Connected podcast is to connect generations and situations about faith, life, and whatever comes along the way. To not necessarily agree, but be listened to. These conversations, of course, highlight the perspectives of our various guests. You are always welcome to agree or even disagree, but as always, we hope it is done in charity.